Hey, what's up, everybody? Shady here with chapter 12. It's titled Reconciliation, because after everything that has happened, it really just brought me and my wife closer together. It saved our marriage, it saved our family, and saved us as individuals. This chapter is kind of compressed with a lot of things and um, a lot of gifts that just started to show themselves after we had um, casted out the evil animal. God just started blessing us as we put Him first in our marriage. It was just this huge blessing to forgive, of forgiveness, to forgive ourselves and each other. But chapter 12, reconciliation. So, a lot of things had changed since we had seen the evil animal and the power of God over it. It brought strength to our marriage. It brought my wife and me closer than we had ever been before. The little things that used to matter just didn't matter anymore. When my wife and I had gone to my mother-in-law's home after seeing the evil animal, we walked in immediately, and upon entering, I spoke out loud with a deep sigh. This place feels like a sanctuary. I felt the presence of God in my mother-in-law's house. She had gone on a quick errand, so when we had gotten there, she wasn't there, and our children were with my wife's younger brother. My wife had taken note of my words as we walked in. I walked through the whole house to make sure I didn't feel any bad feelings in the house. To my relief, the whole house seemed like a sanctuary. I only felt peace and serenity in my mother-in-law's home. I was so grateful for that space and those feelings. We asked our children if they would talk with us, and we sat with them, hugged them, and kissed them. We savored each moment we had to sit and talk with our children. We reassured them that we were okay and that we were so sorry for all the fighting we had exposed them to. We were so grateful for our children. We are so grateful for them. After we had all sat together and talked, my wife and I went into the back room and confessed everything we had ever done to one another. Only this time we did not do it out of hate or contempt, but out of pure genuine love and for the sake of progress in our plan of reconciliation. I told her truths and pains I had held against her for so long, and she told me truths and her pains that she had held against me also. We spent hours that night sitting side by side, staring at each other, crying and weeping in each other's arms. Sanctuary, the peace and serenity. I was so grateful for that space. And in that space, my wife and I reconciled and began the long journey ahead of us of mending our marriage under the guidance of God. The more we confessed, the more we spoke, the lighter and warmer and softer our hearts became towards each other. We had begun to build the bridge and lessen the distance we had in between us. With each word, each glance, each embrace, the closer we got to the love we had felt when I had first stepped off that train, the first day I met my wife. The journey was long, but it wasn't difficult because we had put God at the head of our marriage. We marveled at His power and had no more doubts of the strength of God or His mercy. We had spent so much time consumed with only the bad in our relationship that we had forgotten all of the good in each other. We had forgotten that it was God that had brought us together in the first place. I was seeing my wife for what seemed like the first time again. All of the hopes and dreams I had hidden away came back, and they filled my mind with love and endless possibilities for the future. God had connected me to my wife in so many ways over time. I had learned how to tap into our connection through my practice of healing and through the gifts that God had gave me. I was able to pick up on her thoughts and feelings. He had given me the gift to know her mind and heart. Also, through the grace and mercy of my Heavenly Father, the waters I used to see in my mind's eye weren't turbulent anymore. The waters were no longer trying to kill me. In fact, God had given me power over them through my faith in Him. Through this connection, I was given to my wife, and the control I now had over the waters in my mind's eye. I was able to see her waters now in my mind's eye. When God connected my wife and me, my wife and I, her emotions would manifest unto my mind's eye as water, and I would know her heart through the interpretation of the water. He had now also given me the gift of inducing dreams in my wife. The gifts he had given me seemed to be endless. It was amazing because the impossible was now possible. God had taken out all of the randomness, all of the hurts and pains, and replaced everything with amazement and with wonder. After some time had passed, we were able to find a balance in our marriage and home. We were able to realize that God's strength and mercy on us had liberated us from the evil animal and from the chains of our own sins. A month had passed since we saw the evil animal, when we found out that we were having our sixth child, which was a blessing from God. God had given us a new beginning in our marriage, and our family was growing. Healing was happening on all levels through the power of God. God blessed me with the gift to heal, and I practiced a lot on my wife. The more I did, the more able I was to become a better instrument of God. With this gift that God had given me, I was able to gain more insight into my connection with God and my wife. When I would lay my hands on my wife, I could see her waters, just as I used to see mine. There were a few times where my wife's waters would be turbulent, and then there would be a sudden release of waters, like a gush, as if I had unleashed emotions that were hidden and blocked. And as if on cue, my wife would just start crying with emotion. I would thank God with the silent voice of my heart and mind. I also started to practice healing on my children, and it would be a huge relief of emotion. And as a conduit, God would guide my words at that moment of release and speak truth through me to calm the emotions that would come up, and I would be able to guide my family to a much deeper healing, more than I thought possible. Life had taken on a new meaning to me. All of my prayers were being answered. I had the woman I prayed for and needed. God had given us to each other and was guiding us. He had softened our hearts and had guided our emotions to each other. He tore our walls and barriers down and rebuilt us up in His love and His strength. We weren't afraid to rebuild and weren't afraid to trust it, because we had our foundation in the Lord, and through Him we had stability. On one occasion, my wife was sitting next to me on the couch, and she had just fallen asleep, and her head was on my shoulder, when I felt intuitively that I should put my hands on her head and guide the Lord's energy to her. And so I calmed my mind and felt the link that would connect us together. And when that happened, I felt this sudden surge of energy through my body, through my hands, and into her. Simultaneously, I felt sensations in my body of being in water. I felt the crispness of the water, the coolness of the water, and I focused more on the feeling of the water. I began to feel the motion of the water and the gentle push and pull of the waves. So I focused more deeply, and a visual came into my mind of where I could almost see the water, and more so, I started to see underneath the water. And when I was able to make out undersea life and plants, at that point, I knew I was linked up to my wife, and what I was seeing was what she was seeing in her dreams. The excitement came as a surge of energy that pulled me out of the dream. When I came back to the couch we had been sitting on, I didn't want to wake my wife. She had been so tired due to being really sick through the majority of her pregnancy, but I anxiously waited for her to wake up. I did not have to wait long, only about a couple of minutes. The feeling of knowing that I had seen my wife's dream while I was awake, it brought so much thoughts of wonder to me and awe. Um, Seeing that, our dreams are our own. They're hard enough to explain or remember when we wake up, but to share in a dream with somebody else that had this, well, one was awake and one was asleep. You think like, oh, if we had the same dream while we were sleeping, but I was awake and she was asleep. When my wife woke up, she told me that she had a dream she needed to tell me. And before she could begin, I told her I need to go first. I told her what I had done when she had fallen asleep and what I felt intuitively to do. And I told her what I felt and then what I had seen as I saw the look of anticipation flood over my wife. I went on and told her that she was dreaming about being in water because I was able to feel the water and was able to see underneath it. And she just stared at me with these wide, anxious eyes while I told her. When I was finished with the account, I asked her if I was right. She excitedly agreed and then proceeded to tell me her dream. She told me that in her dream, she had the courage to jump in a river head first, being fully aware that she didn't know how to swim. She told me that I was urging her to have faith and jump in. So she jumped in with complete happiness and with no fear. She told me that I had followed her along the side of the river, watching her, and when she had come to the end of the river, we went into this place and sat down, and in her dream, I told her to talk about the dream that we were currently in, and to tell me what she had thought about it. She was a bit confused in her dream, and in her dream had asked me if I was serious about what I was saying. She didn't understand in the dream how she could talk about her dream she was still currently in. After telling me her dream in a dream, she stared questioningly at me, waiting for me to say something. Then she remembered something else. She told me that at the very beginning of her dream, she felt this surge of electricity go throughout her body and mind, and I knew it was when the linking between us happened. When I had put my hands on her head, I had shocked her, she said, and she had felt it in her dream. And I told her um, that I was trying to focus, my energy and try to be a conduit to her of Heavenly Father's energy, and to release any blockages of fear, and that I must have focused too deeply, or Heavenly Father's strength is so awesome. I was still learning how to use these gifts God had given me, and I apologized for shocking her. We were both amazed because we both knew the truth of what was happening. God had connected us on such a deep level, on all levels, it seemed like. When God told my wife that I had to meet him in the desert in my dreams, and when I didn't have to go to sleep to do it, it gave me the understanding that I didn't even have to go to sleep to dream now. And when I linked up with my wife and was able to see and feel her dream, it only solidified that the understanding of not having to go to sleep to dream anymore. Well, that's the end of chapter 12 of reconciliation, and it's it's a testament to how amazing and powerful and how the spirit just gifts it just how it just gifts these gifts to us. It's just this amazing blessing. I was like this kid in a candy store, like to be able to do these things and see these things. If someone would tell me that they did that before I found out about all this, like I wouldn't have believed it. But having gone through it is just this amazing testament, now uh and knowing that me and my wife share these connections. It's just this beautiful thing of how connected we can be with the person that we genuinely love. How God's grace on us and on our marriage is so interwoven. We literally have become one body, one mind, one heart, one spirit almost. It says it in the Bible that when we get married, that we become one body. And before, I had no clue as to what that meant. And then when all this happened, it just was like, wow, we're literally sharing these things with each other. And just even reconciliation on this deep level of forgiveness for yourself, that you may have this forgiveness from Heavenly Father snatched us up at the very bitterness that we had, and at the lowest point I felt we were at. God pulled us out of that, and that forgiveness He had on us as these horrible people we were, to save us from it, to save us from each other, to save us from our marriage failing, is this huge act of mercy and kindness and love on His behalf that just opened my eyes to the real example of what forgiveness is and the power behind it. We learn how to forgive, like, oh, go say you're sorry, but then might still hold on to those things. When we learn to forgive after we had seen this tremendous example, the little things didn't matter no more. These little things that we used to fault finding in each other would just didn't matter no more. What mattered was the love to find those things, the good things. We tend to find the faults in our spouses or in ourselves almost as leverage over them or our own self almost. Like as if, like, well, I got this ammo to win this argument or to turn the tide, and to kind of make people see, like, oh, maybe, with all this stuff you're throwing at me, like, when we fault find, we tend to dump it on the other person, and that person will dump on us, and then nothing will change. And then we go for however long like that in these kinds of toxic relationships. And we can be in this toxic relationship with ourselves. And I used to say, like, I would never be in a relationship like that, this abusive, vicious cycle of relationship. But I end up finding out then that I was, and I had been in one my whole life. And it was with this person that I didn't like anymore. This person I had become, who got me into trouble. This person who didn't give a damn about me or anybody else. This person who would hurt other people and hurt me, but for some reason I clung onto that person and held it close to me as if that person was going to protect me from being hurt. And when God snatched us up, like, He showed me that I didn't need that anymore. I didn't need these defense mechanisms to protect me, that I had God with me to protect me. And when me and my wife put Him at the head of our marriage became stable because it had the foundation to grow. Marriage takes work. Reconciling with the person, with ourselves, takes work. But through the grace and mercy of our Heavenly Father, that work doesn't have to be our burden that we carry alone. Heavenly Father gives us our weaknesses and our burdens as a way to humble us, that we may give them to Him, that He may turn them into strengths, and that He may lighten our burdens. There's no way I could have fixed our marriage by ourselves. There's no way my wife could have. There was no way that me and her could have fixed it by ourselves. We were stuck, and we both knew it. It's a horrible feeling to wake up knowing that the person you love, the person you marry, the person you care about is unhappy. It's an ugly feeling. It's a horrible feeling. And as a man, it's terrible, because as men, we tend to want to fix things, and when you can't fix the way your wife looks at you, or the way your marriage is not working, it's a horrible feeling. It is something that we have to put our pride aside, give it to Heavenly Father, to our Redeemer, and trust them to do as they tell us and prompt us to do. Ask, and you shall receive. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. Ask in a humble heart, with a broken heart and a contrite spirit. Put your pride aside and go to Heavenly Father and tell Him, I cannot do this by myself. Let it out. And He will come and mend your marriage and mend that love, that pure, precious gift that we get. His love should be the example on how we love others and how we should love ourselves. If you think that you can't have that love, that is a lie from the adversary. That is false. Everybody deserves to be loved. Everybody deserves to have happiness and joy in their life. I testify to the truth of that. I'm eternally grateful for what Heavenly Father has done. I could never have done this by myself. Just the strength and the boldness that I can speak with now, the confidence I have in speaking the truth of something so precious to me, knowing that it will always be mine and that nobody can take it. We tend to hold on to things as if, precious things like love and truth and precious memories, precious feelings, we tend to hold them close and hide them almost as if somebody in this world has the power to take them from us. But those are the treasures that thieves cannot steal. Love and compassion, kindness, patience, all these meekness, this humbleness, all of these things are treasures that thieves cannot steal and that moths cannot corrupt. Hold them close, but don't hide them. Don't put them under a bushel. Jesus Christ says that if you had you lit a candle, that you don't put it under a bushel to hide the light, that you put it in the center of the room that all may see the light, that a house on a hill cannot be hid. Don't hide those precious things. The Lord will protect them. Trust Him with them, and He will magnify them to it. It becomes a feeling that overflows out of you. It's not a precious commodity like gold or money that can run out. When you give them to the Lord, He will magnify them to the point that these feelings are just so tremendous that they fill you up, and to the point of bursting, to the point where it's just coming out of you. And you can't help but want to share them with those around you. This journey of Heavenly Father is not so much for our own life or our own gain, but also for those around us, for our brothers and sisters that we could be helping. And if we let those feelings be magnified, then you have more than enough to give. And it's okay. It's okay to give. But I can go on forever talking, and I will. Every day I can, to anybody who will listen. To my Heavenly Father, to my children, to my family, from them, from us, to you, we say, love and be loved. And in doing so, you will be listening and doing and living by the two greatest commandments: to love God, to let Him love you. And the second greatest commandment that Jesus gave us to love our neighbors, to love those around us as He has loved us. Thank you guys for listening. Chapter 13 is coming up. It's called, titled Calming the Waters. I get more into this water world. It's something that I realized, like, I've been seeing these things my whole life, these different places. And it's just amazing how Heavenly Father's been trying to get to me and get to my life and snatch me up. But me and my family love you, whoever you are, wherever you are. Please like this video if you like it, and please share it with others. It's a beautiful message that I think all these videos, like, people need to know that this stuff is still happening. This world is not boring and mundane no more. There's color, there's beauty in it. There's good people in it. And there's a work to be done still. The harvest is great, but the laborers are few. Become a laborer. Become a servant of the Most High God, of His Son Jesus Christ, to help our brothers and sisters. But from my family to yours, we love you. God bless you. And stay tuned for the next chapter. Thank you guys. See you later.